Krillvex had been running genetic scans for 347 cycles, and not once, not a single time had the scanner given him what could politely be called absolute nonsense. Until today, until the humans showed up. He stared at his display screen, all four of his eye stalks converging on the readout with the kind of focus usually reserved for spotting predators in tall grass. The scanner hummed, clicked, beeped twice, and then displayed results that made Krillvex question whether he had accidentally ingested fermented fungus during his morning meal. Genetic classification, error. Subclassification, paradox detected. Threat assessment, yes. Also no. Possibly both. Recalibrate. Oh, for the love of the great spiral, Krillvex muttered, smacking the side of the scanner with one of his smaller appendages. The machine beeped indignantly, as if offended by his doubt. You are a Helix 9000 genetic analyzer. You cost more than my entire education. You do not give me error messages that sound like philosophical riddles. He ran the scan again. The human specimen, a female named Lieutenant Jake Henderson. No, wait. He checked his notes. Lieutenant Jake Henderson was the male. This was Engineer Cassidy Park. Stood patiently in the scanning chamber. She smiled at him through the transparent barrier, giving a little wave that Krillvex found simultaneously endearing and suspicious. Prey species did that. The friendly ones. The ones that traveled in groups and relied on social bonding for survival. But the scanner disagreed. Well, it also agreed. Which was the problem? Binocular forward-facing vision. Predator classification confirmed. Whites of eyes visible. Prey communication adaptation confirmed. Krillvex's eye stalks twisted in confusion. That is not how this works. That is not how any of this works. He pressed the button for deeper analysis. The scanner whirred, sending harmless radiation pulses through the human's body, mapping every strand of DNA, every genetic marker, every evolutionary adaptation that made her species what it was. The machine worked for a solid 30 seconds, which was approximately 29 seconds longer than it should have taken. Then it spat out a report that was 17 pages long. 17 pages. Most species got half a page. The Vrelniks, an apex predator from a death world where the rain was acidic and the plants screamed, got 2 pages, and that was considered excessive. Krillvex scrolled through the report, his eye stalk spreading wider with each passing paragraph. Dental structure. Omnivorous. Canines present for tearing flesh. Molars present for grinding plant matter. Species consumes both prey animals and vegetation. Warning. Unusual versatility detected. Muscular system. Slow twitch fibers dominant. Built for endurance. Cross-reference persistence predator classification. Species capable of tracking prey for extended periods until target expires from exhaustion. Adrenal response. Extreme. Capable of short-term strength increase of up to 300% during threat response. Similar to cornered prey species' final survival mechanism. Okay. That one actually makes sense, Krillvex admitted, highlighting that section. Plenty of prey species had panic strength. It was a last resort, the biological equivalent of flipping the table and running when the predator got too close. But then he kept reading. Skeletal density. Moderate. Vulnerable to fracture under extreme force. However, bone healing rate exceptional. Fractures typically mend within 6 to 8 solar weeks. Note. Species appears to have evolved expecting regular skeletal damage. Pain tolerance. Krillvex had to read this section 3 times. Pain tolerance adjustable. Species possesses ability to suppress pain response through mental discipline and adrenaline override. Documented cases of individuals continuing complex tasks with severe injuries that would incapacitate most galactic species. Classification unclear. Is this predator determination or prey desperation? The scanner then helpfully added a note at the bottom. Recommendation. Do not startle. Do not corner. Do not challenge. Do not ignore. Threat assessment remains inconclusive. Fantastic, Krillvex said to nobody in particular. The most expensive genetic scanner in 4 sectors just told me to treat the humans like they are both dangerous and harmless. Incredibly helpful. Truly worth every credit. He signaled to Cassidy that the scan was complete. She stepped out of the chamber, still smiling, and Krillvex noticed something he had not seen before. Her eyes tracked his movement with perfect precision. Not the scattered, wide-field awareness of not the lazy confidence of an apex predator. Something in between. Something that watched, calculated, and somehow still managed to look friendly. How did it go? Cassidy asked, her voice bright and cheerful. I have never been genetically scanned before. It tickled a little bit. Is that normal? Perfectly normal, Krillvex lied, because he genuinely had no idea what was normal anymore. Just a routine analysis. Standard procedure for new species joining the galactic research outpost. Cool. Jake is next, right? He has been excited about this all morning. He thinks your scanner looks like something from an old Earth movie. Krillvex gestured weakly toward the chamber. Yes. Send him in, please. Cassidy waved again and bounded out of the lab with the kind of energy that suggested she had not just been bombarded with enough radiation to map her entire genetic code. Krillvex slumped in his chair, eye stalks drooping. 5 minutes later, Lieutenant Jake Henderson stood in the scanning chamber, grinning like this was the most entertaining thing he had done all week. Krillvex pressed the scan button. The machine hummed, clicked, beep. Error, predator and prey classifications detected simultaneously. This should not be possible. Recalibrating. Recalibration failed. Results identical to previous scan. Krillvex put his head down on his desk and seriously considered retirement. Thum was eating something that smelled like rotted vegetation when Krillvex burst into the senior research lab. The large, boulder-like alien looked up from his meal with the slow, unbothered expression of someone who had seen approximately everything the universe had to offer and was not impressed by any of it. The scanner is broken, Krillvex announced, dumping his datapad onto Thum's desk with enough force to make the rotted vegetation jump. Thum chewed slowly, swallowed, blinked his 3 horizontal eyelids in sequence. The Helix 9000 that we purchased 8 months ago, the one that cost more than a small spacecraft, the one you specifically requested because, and I quote, it is impossible for a Helix 9000 to malfunction. Yes, that one. It is broken. Ixquella, who had been suspended from the ceiling in her rest hammock, dropped down with a flutter of membranous wings. She was stick-thin, with too many joints in all her limbs, and she moved like a particularly judgmental insect. Let me guess. The human scans came back weird. Krillvex's eye stalks shot up. How did you know? Because I ran a preliminary blood analysis yesterday, and my equipment told me that human blood is simultaneously efficient at oxygen transport and terrible at oxygen transport, depending on whether they are sitting still or running. Ixquella snatched the datapad and scrolled through it with her needle-like fingers. Oh no, Krillvex, this is worse than my results. This is so much worse. Thum leaned over, reading the screen. His rocky face somehow managed to convey skepticism. Predator and prey. At the same time, the scanner is definitely broken. That is what I said, except, Ixquella said, her voice taking on the tone of someone about to ruin everyone's day. I cross-referenced the anatomical data with the Galactic Evolution database. The scanner is not broken. Humans actually have all of these features. Krillvex felt something inside his thorax sink.
No.
Absolutely not. That violates the fundamental classification principle. Every species is either predator, prey, or scavenger. There are no exceptions. There have never been exceptions in the entire history of catalogued galactic life. Well, Ixquella said cheerfully, there is one now. Thum took the datapad and read through the report with agonizing slowness. Krillvex counted to 73 before the senior researcher finally spoke. The forward-facing eyes are definitely predator adaptation. Depth perception for hunting, but the visible eye whites allow for nonverbal communication in social groups, which is absolutely a prey trait. Herd animals use that. Pack animals that get hunted use that. Humans use it for both, Ixquella said. I watched them in the cafeteria. They track each other's eye movement to coordinate without speaking, but they also track movement in their peripheral vision like they are expecting something to jump out at them. Constantly. Always scanning. Prey behavior, Krillvex muttered, and predator behavior, Thum added. Situational awareness for ambush hunting. Krillvex wanted to scream. This is ridiculous. What about the endurance adaptation? Persistence predators are extremely rare. The only known species that hunts by chasing prey until it collapses from exhaustion are the Korthax, and they are pure predator classification. No debate, no contradiction.
Ixquella pulled up another file.
Humans have better endurance than the Korthax. Significantly better. They can run for hours in heat, while carrying supplies. Their cooling system is insane. They leak water through their skin to regulate temperature, which should be a horrible survival strategy, except it works perfectly for long-distance pursuit. But they are also weak, Krillvex protested. The scanner said their bones break easily. Prey species fragility. Their bones break and then heal, Thum corrected. Fast. That is not fragility. That is a species that evolved expecting to get injured regularly and just kept going anyway. Predators do not heal that fast because they avoid injury. Prey do not heal that fast because they die when injured. Humans apparently just decided to split the difference and become unkillable through sheer inconvenience. Krillvex slumped into a chair that was not designed for his body shape. So what do we classify them as? We need to file a report with the Galactic Council. They are going to ask for a threat assessment. What do I tell them? Dangerous? Harmless? Both? Neither. Ixquella and Thum exchanged a look. I have a theory, Ixquella said slowly. What if humans are not a contradiction? What if they are just operating on a completely different evolutionary strategy that we have never encountered before? Explain, Thum rumbled. Most species specialize. Predator or prey. Fight or flight. Humans did not specialize. They generalized. They kept every single useful trait from every possible survival strategy and just crammed it all into one body. Krillvex stared at her. That should not work. Specialization is efficient. Generalization means you are mediocre at everything. Unless, Ixquella said, wings fluttering with excitement. You are good enough at everything that it does not matter. Humans are not the fastest predators, but they are fast enough. They are not the strongest, but they are strong enough. They are not the best at any one thing, but they are adequate at all things, and somehow, that made them the dominant species on their planet. Thum made a grinding noise that might have been a laugh. We are going to need a new classification category. We are going to need therapy, Krillvex said. The observation deck overlooked the main work area of the Galactic Research Outpost, and Krillvex had decided that if the scanner could not tell him what humans were, then he would simply watch them and figure it out himself. This plan seemed logical right up until the moment it stopped making any sense whatsoever, which happened approximately 12 minutes into the observation. Thum had joined him, because apparently the senior researcher had nothing better to do than watch Krillvex descend into madness. Ixquella hung from the ceiling, taking notes on a datapad with the enthusiasm of someone documenting a particularly fascinating disaster. There, Krillvex said, pointing at Lieutenant Jake Henderson. Watch his movement pattern. That is predator behavior. Absolutely predator. Jake was walking down the corridor with the kind of smooth, efficient gait that suggested he knew exactly where he was going and nothing was going to stop him from getting there. His head turned slightly at every intersection, eyes scanning, processing, calculating. When a Vrelnik's technician rounded the corner too quickly, Jake's hand moved toward his hip where his weapon would normally be holstered, even though this was a research station and nobody was armed. Muscle memory, combat instinct, threat assessment happening faster than conscious thought. Predator, Thum agreed. Definitely predator. Look at the focus, the economy of movement. He is not wandering. He is moving with purpose. Then Jake spotted Engineer Cassidy Park struggling with a container of equipment that was clearly too heavy for her frame. His entire demeanor changed in less than a second. The predatory focus vanished, replaced by something softer. He jogged over, said something that made Cassidy laugh, and took the container from her hands without being asked. That is prey-social bonding, Ixquella observed. Cooperative behavior, helping without expectation of reward. Pack mentality. Predators hunt in packs, Krillvex countered. Yes, but they do not help each other carry things. They coordinate for the hunt and then compete for the kill. That was pure altruism. Krillvex watched as Jake and Cassidy walked together, talking animatedly about something. Every few seconds, Jake would glance around the corridor, eyes tracking movement, checking corners, but his body language toward Cassidy was completely open, relaxed, trusting. Predator awareness, prey trust, simultaneously. This is giving me a headache, Krillvex muttered. Watch this, Thum said, gesturing toward the cafeteria entrance. A group of 4 humans had just arrived for their meal break. They moved as a unit, not in the rigid formation of a military squad but with the kind of unconscious coordination that spoke of deep familiarity. They sat down at a table, and immediately the conversation started. Loud, energetic, overlapping. They laughed at something one of them said, and the sound carried across the entire cafeteria. Other species looked over, some with curiosity, others with mild alarm at the volume. Prey species are loud in groups, Ixquella noted. Safety in numbers. The noise signals to predators that the group is large and alert. But look at their positioning, Thum said. They are not sitting with their backs exposed. Every single one of them has a view of at least one entrance. That is predator tactical awareness. Krillvex zoomed in the observation camera. One of the humans, a young male with dark hair, was telling a story with exaggerated hand gestures. The others were completely focused on him, eyes locked, body language engaged. Total attention. The kind of focus predators used when stalking prey, except they were using it to listen to their friend talk about based on the gestures, something involving a malfunctioning gravity regulator. They are hunting his story, Krillvex said weakly. No. Wait, that does not make sense. Cassidy entered the cafeteria and waved at the group. They waved back, and one of them immediately shifted positions to make room for her at the table. No hesitation, no territorial dispute. Just instant acceptance and accommodation. Prey, Ixquela said firmly. That is absolutely prey behavior. Social cohesion, group acceptance, strength through unity. Then, a Korthax engineer, the apex predator species that Krillvex had mentioned earlier, walked past the human table. He was large, scaled, with teeth that could puncture hull plating. He accidentally bumped into Jake's chair. Every human at the table stopped talking, stopped moving. Their eyes locked onto the Korthax with a kind of focus that made Krillvex's skin prickle. It was not aggression. Not exactly. It was assessment. Calculation. The Korthax was 3 times Jake's size and could rip him apart without effort. And yet the humans looked at him like they were measuring him for something. The Korthax noticed. His crest flattened slightly, which in his species indicated unease. He mumbled an apology and moved away faster than strictly necessary. The humans returned to their conversation like nothing had happened. What, Krillvex said, was that? That, Thum said slowly, was a group of prey animals making an apex predator uncomfortable through sheer predatory eye contact. I have never seen anything like it. Ixquela was scribbling notes frantically. They did not threaten him. They did not move aggressively. They just looked at him, and he left. How? How does that work? Krillvex watched as Cassidy pulled out a small device and showed the group something on the screen. They all leaned in, cooing and making high-pitched noises of delight. The camera was too far away to see what it was, but the reaction was unmistakable. That is the sound prey makes when seeing offspring, Krillvex said. Baby animals, cute things. They are activating nurturing instincts, while sitting in a tactical formation and having just stared down a Korthax. Thum added. Jake said something that made the entire group laugh again, and then he reached over and stole food from Cassidy's plate. She smacked his hand, not hard, just enough to make a point. He grinned and ate it anyway. She rolled her eyes and stole something from his plate in retaliation. Playfighting. Social bonding through mock combat. Establishing hierarchy without actual violence. I think, Ixquela said quietly, that humans might be the most confusing species in the galaxy. I think, Krillvex replied, that is the only thing we know for certain. Thum made that grinding laugh sound again. Wait until you see them interact with other species. It gets worse. How? Krillvex demanded. Could it possibly get worse? Thum just smiled, which on a boulder-shaped alien was somehow deeply unsettling. Krillvex had made the catastrophic decision to plant a listening device near the human table. Not for espionage purposes, he told himself. Purely for scientific research. To understand the paradox species through their natural communication patterns. He regretted this decision almost immediately. So I finally got photos from my sister, Cassidy was saying, her voice bright with excitement. She held up her communication device, showing the screen to Jake and the others. Look at him. Is he not the most adorable thing you have ever seen? Krillvex zoomed the camera in. On the screen was a small fluffy animal with long ears and a tiny nose. A rabbit. A prey species. Humans kept prey species as companions. Oh my gosh, one of the other humans, a female named Rachel Torres, squealed. His little feet. Cassidy, I am going to die. He is too cute. I cannot handle this. Prey species bonding over another prey species, Ixquela observed. That tracks. Empathy for similar survival strategies. Jake leaned over to look at the photo. What is his name? Mr. Fluffington, Cassidy said without a trace of shame. That is the best name. When I get back to Earth, I am getting a rabbit. Maybe 2. They need friends, right? They do better in pairs, Cassidy confirmed. Social animals. They get lonely. Krillvex nodded along. This made sense. Humans identified with social prey species. They understood the need for companionship and group bonding. Finally, some clarity. Then Rachel pulled out her own device. Okay, but look at what my dog did last week. The photo showed a large, muscular animal with pointed ears and far too many teeth. It was holding a destroyed cushion in its mouth, foam everywhere, looking absolutely pleased with itself. That is a wolf, Thum said flatly. That is a domesticated wolf. Why do humans have a domesticated wolf in their living space? Dogs are not exactly wolves, Ixquela said, checking her database. But they are descended from wolves, apex predators, pack hunters. Humans took one of their planet's most dangerous predators and turned it into a companion animal. Rex is such a good boy, Rachel was saying, her voice filled with affection for the chaos beast on her screen. He only destroys furniture when he gets bored, and when he is hungry, and when I leave for more than 10 minutes. My dog growing up used to hunt rabbits in our backyard, Jake added casually, taking a bite of his meal. Krillvex's eye stalks went rigid. I am sorry, what? Cassidy nodded. Oh yeah, dogs have a prey drive. It is instinct. My parents' dog caught a squirrel once. We felt bad for the squirrel, but also, nature happens, you know. So let me understand this correctly, Krillvex said to his colleagues, his voice climbing toward panic. Humans keep prey animals as beloved companions, and they also keep predators as beloved companions. And sometimes the predators kill the prey animals, and humans are sad about the prey but also accept it as natural. It appears so, Thum said, sounding like he was questioning his entire career. The conversation at the human table continued. Speaking of hunting, said the fourth human at the table, a male named Devon Chang. My uncle sent me pictures from his deer hunting trip. Got a huge buck, 12-point antlers. Krillvex watched as Devon showed photos of a dead earth animal, and the other humans reacted with approval and interest. That is a clean shot, Jake observed. Your uncle is a good hunter. He has been doing it for 30 years, says it is about patience. You have to track them for hours sometimes. Wait for the right moment. My dad used to take me hunting, Rachel said. I have not gone in years, but I still remember how to field dress a kill. It is kind of meditative in a weird way. Cassidy made a face. I could never hunt. I mean, I eat meat, but I could not personally kill something. Too sad. That is fair, Jake said. Not everyone is built for it. I went hunting once. Did not like it. But I respect the skill involved. Krillvex looked at his colleagues. They are casually discussing killing and eating animals while also showing photos of their adorable pets. In the same conversation, without any sense of contradiction. Humans are omnivores, Ixquella said. Though she sounded uncertain, they have to eat both meat and plants for optimal nutrition. So they kill some animals and befriend others. Based on what? Arbitrary criteria. Not arbitrary, Thum said, reading from his database. Humans domesticated specific species over thousands of years, selected for traits like loyalty, companionship and usefulness. The animals they hunt are wild, different category in their minds, but some humans keep chickens as pets and also eat chicken, Ixquella countered, pulling up her own research. Some keep pigs as companion animals while others raise pigs for meat. The categories overlap. Devon was talking again. The crazy thing about early humans is that they did not even need weapons for a lot of their hunting. They would just chase animals until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting. Walk after an antelope for 8 hours in the heat until it literally cannot run anymore. Jake laughed. That is so dark. Just imagine being that antelope. This weird hairless thing keeps following you. You run away. It is still there. You run again. Still there. For hours. Until you just give up and die. Humans are horrifying, Rachel said cheerfully. We really are, Cassidy agreed. Krillvex turned off the listening device. He looked at Thum and Ixquella with all four eye stalks expressing pure existential dread. They know, he whispered. They know they are terrifying. And they think it is funny. I need a drink, Thum said. I need several drinks, Ixquella corrected. I need to file a report with the Galactic Council, Krillvex said. And I have absolutely no idea what to write. Down in the cafeteria, the humans were now sharing photos of cats. Small, fuzzy predators that humans allowed to live in their homes despite the cats showing them minimal affection and occasionally leaving dead animals as gifts. The paradox species continued to be paradoxical, and Krillvex was running out of sanity. The emergency alarm was not supposed to go off during the observation period. Krillvex had specifically checked the schedule. The quarterly safety drill was marked for next week. Next week. Not now, not when he was still recovering from the cafeteria incident and the philosophical crisis it had triggered. But the universe, as always, had a terrible sense of humor. Red lights flooded the station corridors. The automated voice echoed through every chamber. Emergency drill initiated. Hull breach detected in Sector 7. All personnel proceed to safety protocols. This is a drill. Repeat. This is a drill. Well, Thum said, settling into his observation chair with resignation. At least we get to see how humans respond to crisis situations. I am not sure I want to know, Krillvex muttered, but he activated all the monitoring cameras anyway. The humans reacted instantly. Not with panic, not with confusion, with something that made Krillvex's skin prickle. They moved like a switch had been flipped inside their heads, every single one of them, from every corner of the station, shifted from casual conversation mode into something else entirely. Jake was closest to Sector 7. The camera caught him mid-stride as the alarm sounded. His posture changed. Shoulders squared, eyes sharp. He started barking orders to nearby personnel, his voice cutting through the chaos with absolute authority. Relnick's crew, seal the adjacent compartments. Ixkellan staff, grab the emergency repair kits. Move, move, move. The aliens responded, but Krillvex noticed they responded because Jake's tone left no room for debate. That was not a request. That was a command, pure predator dominance assertion delivered without aggression, just unshakable certainty. Cassidy was 3 corridors away when the alarm hit. She grabbed a Krillnoth researcher who had frozen in confusion, gently but firmly guiding them toward the safe zone. Come on, friend. This way. You are okay. I have got you. Just keep moving. Nurturing behavior, Ixquella said. Protective instinct. She is treating the Krillnoth like an injured member of her pack, while simultaneously navigating optimal evacuation routes and checking every door seal she passes. Thum added. Predator spatial awareness. She is not just helping. She is calculating. The simulated threat escalated. The computer announced a secondary breach. Smoke began pumping into Sector 6. Thick artificial fog meant to test visibility protocols. Rachel and Devon emerged from the cafeteria, and Krillvex watched their eyes meet across the corridor. No words, just a glance. They split up, each taking a different path, coordinating without discussion. How did they do that? Krillvex demanded. Pack communication, Ixquella said quietly. Like wolves. They have worked together long enough that they do not need verbal commands. They just know. A Thumian engineer, one of Thum's own species, stumbled in the smoke. Too slow, too disoriented. Jake appeared out of the artificial fog like a ghost, grabbed the engineer by the arm, and hauled him toward clear air. The Thumian outweighed Jake by at least 200 pounds, but the human moved him anyway, sheer determination overriding physical limitations. You are good, Jake said, his voice calm. Breathe, slow breaths. The smoke is not real. You are safe. The Thumian's panic subsided. Jake's voice, steady and certain, cut through the fear. Alpha predator reassurance. The kind of tone that said, I am in control. Follow me, you will survive. Then the simulation threw its final curveball. A training drone, designed to simulate a hostile intruder, activated in Sector 8. It was not a real threat, just a floating machine with flashing lights and loud noises, but it was programmed to act aggressive, to test response protocols. The humans saw it, all of them, across multiple corridors, through cameras and smoke and chaos, and they changed again. Cassidy, who had been gently coaxing a scared Vrelnix toward safety, went completely still, her eyes locked onto the drone. Her body language shifted from nurturing to something that made Krillvex's blood run cold. She moved the Vrelnix behind her, placing her own body between the alien and the perceived threat. Jake, Devon, and Rachel converged on Sector 8 from 3 different angles without discussing it. They moved in sync, spacing themselves apart, cutting off the drone's escape routes. Not running, walking, steady, patient, the way persistence hunters move. Oh no, Krillvex whispered. Oh no, they think it is real. It is a drill, Ixquella said. They know it is a drill. The announcement said drill. Then why are they hunting it? Because that was what they were doing. Hunting. The drone retreated, following its programming, trying to evade. The humans adjusted instantly. Jake went left, Devon went right, Rachel stayed center. Cassidy circled around behind. They were not chasing it. They were herding it, controlling its movement, giving it nowhere to go. The drone, sensing it was cornered, activated its loudest alarm. A last-ditch intimidation tactic. The humans did not even flinch. Jake moved in, smooth and fast, and deactivated the drone with practiced efficiency. The alarm cut off. Silence filled the corridor. Then, just as quickly as they had become predators, the humans shifted back. Jake turned to check on the Thumian engineer. Rachel jogged over to help Cassidy with the Vrelnix. Devon started organizing the all-clear procedures, his voice friendly and calm, like nothing had happened. Like they had not just demonstrated pack hunting tactics against a simulated threat while simultaneously protecting every nearby alien. The station computer announced the drill's end. Personnel began returning to normal operations. The humans laughed, made jokes about the smoke machine, complained about the timing interrupting lunch. Krillvex stared at the monitors in silence. Thum finally spoke. They switched between prey social bonding and predator coordination in under 30 seconds, multiple times, without apparent effort. The human brain, Exquella said, reading something on her datapad with shaking hands, has multiple neural pathways for threat response. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Most species have one dominant response. Humans can access all of them simultaneously, and choose which one to use based on context. They are not predator or prey, Krillvex said slowly. They are both. Actually both. Their entire evolutionary strategy is situational adaptation. Be the predator when needed. Be the prey when needed. Be the protector. Be the threat. Whatever the moment requires. The Galactic Council is going to lose their minds when we file this report, Thum said. Down in the corridors, Jake was showing the Thumian engineer photos of his childhood dog. The engineer was calming down, distracted by the image of the domesticated wolf descendant. Cassidy was teaching the Vrelniks a breathing technique for managing panic, her voice soft and patient. Rachel and Devon were already back in the cafeteria, grabbing the meals they had abandoned. Just another day for the paradox species. Just another moment of being utterly incomprehensibly terrifyingly human. Krillvex began typing his report to the Galactic Council. He got 3 sentences in, deleted all of them, and start over. How did you explain humans to a galaxy that had never encountered anything like them? How did you classify a species that refused to be classified? He settled on the only conclusion that made sense. Classification: human. Threat level: yes. Approach with caution, kindness, and the understanding that you are dealing with something that evolution built to survive everything. And somehow, improbably, they turned that survival instinct into compassion. Krillvex saved the report, looked at his colleagues. I am taking a vacation. I am coming with you, Exquella said immediately. Thum just laughed his grinding laugh and went back to eating his rotted vegetation. The humans, paradoxical as ever, continued being human, and the galaxy would just have to figure out how to deal with that.